What's up, guys and gals? My name is Splattercat, and I am here with another episode of Beasts of Prey. Now, you may have noticed an interruption in our normal programming schedule, if you can call it such. I mean, I do it in crayon, and it's more or less sort of scribbled. It's not anything professional looking. I definitely don't break out the Excel or whatnot to make it work. However, crayon seems to get me through in this case. The reason that things were a little bit punctuated, and so I'm just going to walk around and find some resources while we talk about this, because I do feel like it's important. I do owe you an explanation, because when I start a series, I really like to make sure that it stays concurrent and it stays running. So first things first, the owner of the community servers has been resetting the server every other day for some reason. I realize that there are certain bugs or certain things in play that may cause him to do that, but it gets a little bit frustrating rebuilding your base every other day. So essentially what had happened is about every other day he was resetting the server all weekend. And when he resets, we lose all of our items, we lose our base, we lose just about everything. That's our base up there, by the way, in case you were wondering where I'm trying to get back to right now. We aren't in the same spot that we were before. We had to migrate around a little bit because this time I didn't have a jump on the server, so I couldn't get myself right near the first spawn point. But anyways, back to the point that I was talking about. The community server owner had decided at one point or another to reset the server every 24 hours or so for about 3 days. As of right now, it hasn't been reset in about 72 hours, so I'm hoping that we're going to get a little bit of space. The game has been patched, adding new items and such. I think we're going to have a little bit of time on our hands during which we can play around with some new ideas. Hopefully, I'd like to see today, I'd like to get us back to firearms if I can. I don't know if we have enough metal right now. The server is really, really full. I haven't seen any dinosaurs in at least a day or two. I haven't seen any rocks since last night. I've been playing quite a bit. I do enjoy the game, but for right now, just gathering logs and making sure that I've got enough wood, giggity, to go straight into the future, and I can't, actually, the number is gone from our wood. So anyways, the changes that they've made in the last patch cycles, they've started to add some of the integral, I guess, like the center stage systems to the gameplay mechanics, I guess, are what they're trying to implement now. And so they've added a hunger system. Now, you technically don't lose hunger right now, but they have added food that you can eat that apparently does something. Now, what this ended up doing is it ended up killing up the dinosaurs in, I suppose, under 5 minutes. Like, the moment the patch went up, everybody just ran around and murdered all the dinosaurs. And so there's no dinosaurs left right now. This server, no dinosaurs. This has been a long-running problem of the game, and by long-running, I mean over the course of the last week, where there are no dinosaurs in the game. I don't know if the spawns are set very similar to DayZ, in which you find that the items only return when the server owner resets the server, and so I don't know if that's going to be something that they're going to have to start implementing, is maybe the server administrators need to reset the servers at 5 o'clock every day or something like that, or, you know, every 4 hours like the DayZ servers do. Not really sure how the structure works here or how the architecture works. It's not something that I'm privy to, but from what I can tell, the servers very rapidly follow this same cycle of being tapped out, like there's nothing left on the server, and then once the tapping out has occurred, they never come back. And so there doesn't appear to be a respawn system in play. The rocks and whatnot, they do seem to come back, but the dinosaurs for sure, absolutely 100% I can tell you, those do not come back. No matter what anybody says, they don't respawn, because I haven't seen one of those since, I don't know, I feel like an old man talking about it right now, being just like, well, back in my day, there used to be dinosaurs in this game, but they went somewhere else, and now we don't really know where they went. And you know how sometimes the more confused you get and the harder you think, the higher your voice gets. You be like, well, I don't know if maybe we should carry the integral. That's how I sounded in algebra class the entire time. That was also how I sounded in calculus, and that was also how I sounded in linear algebra. People just got used to the fact that it sounded like I had been huffing helium the entire time, and they just gave up. They're like, that kid just has an annoying voice. I don't know what's wrong with him. He gets nervous, and his voice just goes so high that it could crack glass. And we just started ignoring it at this point because he seems to have the right answers, so we just copy off of him, and we just assume that his voice is a weird quirk. And so the world has become very, very populated. That's the first thing that I'd like to point out, is that when you can't destroy stuff, a small screw-up on your base puts you in this weird position where you're like, well, I guess I'll start over. And you just go somewhere else and you build, you know, a completely different base. I think that the map looks a little bit cluttered without being able to destroy other people's. I'm really hoping that in the near future, they will allow us to destroy other people's stuff. And a lot of people will say, you know what, I don't want this to become DayZ or Rust again, but unfortunately, you don't really have a choice. And I'll explain to you why I think that way in just a moment. So the map has become increasingly cluttered, and being able to destroy other people's stuff would give you a real solution to moving other people around and making sure that they don't build too close to your base, making sure that the claim system, I mean the claim system in and of itself, you guys have already heard my complaints about the claim system, in that I already fundamentally think that the claim system does not work and in fact should be started from the ground up. However, I don't know if that's something that can even be done given the way that the engine has been designed by the developers. And so what I would like to see is just the claim system be gone. I should be able to build my house right next to your house if I feel like doing it. And if you don't like it, well, maybe you should research some C4 and blow my house up and move it off to the side, and I'll do the same thing to you. A lot of people have said that they don't want this game to go in a PvP direction like DayZ has, and if that is the case, then they're going to have to give us some compelling PvE to do in order to make that, you know, weird feeling that grows in the pit of your stomach to murder other people and take their stuff. I don't know. It's deeply embedded by every survival game I've played so far, and I think to make that go away, they're definitely going to have to come up with some compelling hook or storyline to make it happen. Now, I don't want to confuse you in this situation by making these proclamations, and let me kind of formulate what I'm trying to say here. So I'm saying that they should give us gameplay mechanics. Don't take that as me complaining about the fact that the game has nothing to do right now. I know the game's in alpha. I totally addressed that fact. I'm just saying from here on out, I'm trying to give my ideas where they could go with the development, seeing as there's not going to be a whole lot for us to talk about in this episode since nothing has respawned. If the server continues in this way, I'll probably break off this series simply because you can understand that this is not sustainable. Me walking around chopping wood and wishing what would be awesome into the game is not something that I can do. And so I don't know if maybe that's why the servers keep getting reset, is because the server owner knows that resetting it is the only way to get the dinosaurs and the rocks to come back. That could be very, very true as well. I'm not really sure in what way we're trying to advance forward here. So I'm kind of in the wrong spot. I may commit suicide in just a minute to get back to my base and go in a different direction. I was on the search for rocks because if you take a look at our inventory, we do have a lot of metal. We do have a lot of stuff that can be used, but we can get back to firearms level. But unfortunately, I'd like to build like a radar tower or something of that nature. Does that guy have a rock in his base? He also has a large hole in his wall. So if I can, I'm going to breach this wall right here and steal this rock, because this is the only rock. This is kind of like water in the desert right now. This is the only rock that I've seen for a very, very long time. And if I can claim it for the Nerd Castle, which mostly involves biting and peeing. I don't know if you guys understand like our ritual of claiming, but the ritual of claiming for the Nerd Castle does go back to kind of caveman periods. I mean, I basically emulate the biggest dog that I've ever seen in my life. It seemed to work for him, so I figured that it must work when you're back in caveman times as well. I'd also, during the course of this episode, like to try out a metal axe and see if maybe they've fix that. Some of the changes that they've put into the game so far, I already told you about the hunger system, which has not been totally implemented. However, the dinosaurs do drop loot now, and the dinosaurs do drop food. And so there's a few new things in the game. They have done a bunch of performance updates, and in fact, in light of that, not in lieu of that, but in light of that fact, I have found that performance has been a lot better when traveling in between sectors. You still do, I don't know, maybe my tongue just felt the underlying need to rhyme right there. The studu sounds like an Australian bird that just hangs out in a bush just leaning like, pirahee, making like some weird, like a kookaburra, you know what I mean. A stew-hoo. There's a stay-hoo up in that tree. Oh, it's a good thing I entertain myself, because I don't know what I would do if that wasn't the case. My old man used to say that all the time. He's like, I spend all my time alone on a roof. I've learned to entertain myself. It's the only way to get by with your sanity. I saw an old tanker that could hold that stew-hoo. Give me a durry. God. Well, we don't have anything over here, and my big goal was to find rocks. But what was I talking about? Oh, yeah, I was talking about the performance updates. So they have updated the performance of the game, which is pretty neat. I have been noticing that there's a whole lot less. This tree has no resources as well. Well, I haven't been down here, which makes me wonder if somebody else is down here. I don't have projectile weaponry at the moment aside from my projectile tears. If someone tries to kill me, oh, we might drown if I do this. No, I can jump, never mind. So, as I told you, it still works the same way that it did before. You sink to the bottom of the water and you see my health disappearing right there. Oh no, we can't touch the bottom. Welp. Goodbye, cruel world. And so that's what happens right there. They should probably focus on that. That's kind of a major pitfall of the game. Like sinking to the bottom of the lake and just drowning. Not so sure if that's going to be conducive to long-term play. Either way, I was thinking about suiciding anyways, so whether or not I made it across, oh good, I fell through my base again. That's always fun. So every time I zone in, I fall through my base. That's something that I wanted to tell you guys. Let's have a look around the base. I'll tell you what I've been working on, let you know what some of my little Bob the Builder projects have been. I'll jump through the front door right here. Now, I have noted that it is a good idea to put kind of an enclosed double door around your base. Not an enclosed double door. We aren't going to be locking up any wizards or magicians in cages just yet. And this base is unfortunately built right on the edge of a chunk, or right on the edge of a sector. So one thing that you will notice as we play the game is that we lag very, very hard inside of our own base, simply based on the fact that I put it way too close to the proverbial county line. This is all we've got right now. I am planning on flooring the entire thing eventually. I'll put in a little hut house over here somewhere, probably off on this side since it's the overhang. I may move the bed into there to see if maybe that saves me from falling through my own base later on. But as it stands right now, let's do a little bit of crafting. There are a couple of guns that I've been looking at. Oh, we can make rockets now. Hello. Those are really, really expensive. 8 sulfur power and 4 iron ingots. That's going to be rough to build. And so I'm thinking with the way the developers have been talking that maybe these rockets are going to be the way that we knock out other people's bases. And they are very... Oh, there's dinosaur leather too. So maybe we can make ourselves like armor or something down the line. Okay. A dinosaur sausage. You can just pluck that straight off the dinosaur and throw it off the grill. You don't even need to do anything for that. An M4OA3 sniper rifle. It sounds pretty awesome. Let's go through the guns, though, and I just want to figure out there's a WA2000 rifle as well, which takes 6 metal pipes and 6 metal plates. I think I might go for that right now. Let's see if we can make ourselves the WA2000. I don't know what that's going to be versus the sniper rifle, but I'd rather have something. The problem with the sniper rifle is that makes us a dominating factor. That makes us very, very superior at an incredibly long range, but what do we do at a medium or a short range? Well, if we have a normal rifle, we can sort of just kind of hip fire that from where it is, just no-scope people pro style or something. So we needed metal pipes. We needed 6 of those. So let's go 1 and 2. That'll give us 8 pipes. And then we need metal plates. We need 6 of those. I think we should be all right. I can prove that I can count right now. We've got 2 going right now. I think we needed 6. So with 3, we are now halfway there. With 4, we are once again divisible by 2. With 5, we are into our favorite increment of measurement because I love to keep things divisible by 5. It is a weird addiction for me. And then we make our WA2000. Bam, there it is. Let's see this thing. The WA2, ooh, it looks like a laser rifle. This thing is looking pretty badass. I mean, it's a little bit blocky for me, but still, hell yeah. Looks like we're rocking a gun from Halo or like Gears of War or something. If anybody tries to run up on us with a stone axe, they're going to get a hard warning straight from the future. So I think we need ammo for this now so that it's actually threatening to someone, because with where we're currently at, we can point the gun at them and we go, ah, click, click, click. But there is no boom from which to draw forth the heavy metal music, or well, I guess the new metal music, and there's also no rounds to scare people with. So maybe I should jump into my crafting menu, and we will consider strongly. Wow, that is so expensive. I hope we get a lot of ammo out of this, because that is a ton of materials that we're going through. Each one of our bullets, quote unquote, is costing us 2 iron, 2 sulfur, and 2 charcoal, which is like, damn. As somebody who's been playing this game a lot in his own free time, I can tell you 100% that is a hell of a lot of materials we're going through. So the sulfur powder is gone. We get 45 rounds out of that. So it looks like we get maybe 5 per craft. Did we leave ourselves with any iron left? 10 iron ingots, good. So let me try and make an iron axe and see if that's been fixed. I did figure out something else right now. If your cursor ever disappears, just press the tab key and it comes back. So you can make your cursor, you see that right there? I can make the cursor go away and come back just by pressing the tab key. You know all those times in past episodes where I was like, no, I'm bugged, and I started complaining? Well, I found out that there's a way to get around that. Technically, you are bugged. I should have made a scar, damn it. I should have made a scar. Aluminium. That would have cost me way more aluminium or aluminum. Unfortunately, well, it's probably not as good. I don't know. The hierarchy of guns in this game. I don't know which gun is at the top of the list and is part of like the barony, and I don't know which gun is down at the bottom being like, I bought my turnip, sir. Like, you know, doing all the lowly labor chopping. You know that as a peasant in medieval times, you were called upon. You had to build a chunk of the Lord's fence every year. Like around his land, the Lord would have a fence around his land so that you knew what the confines of his area was. And like your little area, your peasantry, was responsible for like a section of the wall, and if you didn't build that, bad things would happen. I don't know what bad things would happen, but I would reasonably assume it probably has to do with straps and cutting and stretching and all sorts of other terrible things. Although I have seen conflicting, I forgot what I was looking for now. Oh yeah, the metal axe. There are conflicting reports. I'm really into medieval stuff, and so other people have said that life as a peasant actually wasn't that bad, and I'm not really sure who to believe because, you know, both people have equal credentials. They both have a PhD, which is more than I have. I mean, then again, I've met loads of people with PhDs who are totally full of shit, so... And it appears to still be broken. I don't know when they're planning on fixing the metal axe, but if they could get on that, it would be super swell. That would be something that would just, you know, it would lighten my Jimmy. It would make me, I realize the developers are probably not heavily motivated by the density or the weight of my Jimmy, but at the same time, my Jimmies are quite rustled right now, and I'd prefer for them to be stationary. And so, developers, if you would love to nail down my Jimmy, then the suggestion I would give you is to maybe make the metal axe work, because as it stands right now, it don't swing. What good is an axe that don't swing? And I know you could raise the valid point that perhaps the problem was with my arms, and that I should fix the problem. Nonetheless, I do feel as though I have expressed myself to the extent that I need to at this point. Yeah, we're going to go this way. I know for a fact there's nothing behind me. There was one rock in a guy's backyard, and that was all we could find. And so the depressing nature of that fact has led me to think that maybe I should head back to the area... Did somebody just shoot at me? What sound does this make? Hold on, let's reload. Oh, it doesn't reload. Did I make a worthless gun that doesn't fire? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. If this counts as a sniper rifle and I just use it all up on rifle ammo, I mean, I could go back and make a scar and see if maybe that works. Oh, super weak. I'm clicking so... He just put my gun away. Don't put the gun away. At least it looks scary. I mean, it's a hell of a gun. If you're coming up on a caveman who's like ooga booga, you know, then this still might be a terrifying factor. Nonetheless, without ammunition, if this counts as a sniper rifle, there might have been sniper rifle ammo. If I just wasted all of my... Ew. If I just used all my sulfides and sulfur on making a gun that I can't use, that becomes problematic. It also doesn't denote like what a gun does. I would also like to see that annotated in the crafting list. They've said that rocks spawn around wherever you are. I've been standing over here for close to an hour and a half now. No rocks have spawned. So I'm starting to think that that's just like an urban legend, or maybe it's something that developers said maybe to just tide us over until they could fix other stuff. Or I may just be on an edge of the map where there is nothing. We've run out of stamina now. I've talked about the stamina system. I hate stamina in video games. If you're going to make me walk long distances, I should just be able to sprint there the entire time. Some people don't like that. I do. Because you just think about it. I mean, look how far we have to walk, and now I'm forced to do it at a slow crawl. When I talk about video games, I tend to lean towards any decision that is fun versus any decision that is quote-unquote realistic. We're running around with dinosaurs and machine guns right now. I think all realism should be halted for funness, because clearly we've been leaning towards fun anyways. I mean, when you make the decision dinosaurs plus guns, you are very, very clearly going for the fun aspect of the spectrum, and I apologize that nothing interesting has happened during this episode. I'm thinking I may kill the series just because with the server resets and with the way nothing respawns, I don't know what to tell you all. I mean, this episode was basically made to sort of wean you off of the series just in case, because as it stands right now, I've been wandering around literally since yesterday, looking for anything to use, and I found nothing but trees. There have been no rocks, there have been no anything. I've gone back to the spawn zone, there doesn't appear to be anything there either. It's just like, well, if we wanted to go back to the spawn zone, I think it's off this way, maybe. I don't know, I haven't been keeping my bearings very... Oh, nope, it's not. So we're going downwards right here on our Y vector. Our X vector is increasing, so we've got that kind of right, so we probably want to go back. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Did I turn the wrong way? We'll see what happens here. It's got to be like this direction, but we got to get back to like 35, 35 in order for anything interesting to happen and for me to validate my critiques right now that there's nothing in the spawn zone. Luckily, we're getting more towards the end of the episode, so I'm more inclined... Okay, so it's going to be over the river and over that mountain right there. Still, I'd love to see more resources throughout the total of the map. I mean, the big problem right now, so if I explain the trajectory of the game at the moment, you have to be there on the day one server reset. If you're not there on the day one server reset, you have to build your base way off on the fringes of the map. The fringes of the map, from what I can tell, it does not spawn resources like the center of the map does. And so essentially it's kind of like when Rust first came out, the only place to get materials was Resource Valley. And so if you weren't there on the first day that the server reset, you were toast because there was no space left for you to build a base in Resource Valley. It was all camped and fenced in and there was nothing for you to do, so you might as well find a new server. Now the problem here is if I was playing Rust, I would just go find another server. But the only server, there's only one US server right now for this game, and so you can't really take your ball and go home and be like, screw you guys, I'm going home, I go somewhere else. You just can't do that right now. And so you're sort of trapped with like this $20 game that you really can't play based on the confines of, I mean, the content is there, but you're only going to have fun for like the first 10 hours after a server releases, and then past that point, you're just like, well, I guess I'll go back to being bored and headbutting things and maybe gathering wood and making weapons that solely only use wood because gunfire weapons are too expensive right now. So I think that this is probably a reasonably decent place for me to take my leave of this episode because I'm going to be traveling for a little bit. I'm going to make another couple episodes. They may not be the most entertaining that you've ever seen. Still, I'm going to spend the rest of the afternoon maybe looking for some resources and trying to duck getting murdered. I'm going to head back to the central location. Once we get to the central location, we'll have a look around. Unfortunately, we won't be shooting anybody because our gun doesn't work. That may be due to the fact that I have made rifle ammo instead of sniper ammo, so this may be my fault. This may count as a sniper rifle. I don't know. That's something that I would have to test. What I'll do is, there's a rock over there, so maybe there's one over there too, so maybe the Resource Valley is the key. Unfortunately, this whole area is claimed, so believe me, you're not doing anything over here when it comes to building. We may have to hike in for supplies then, and then do our crafting in between episodes. I'm going to break it off right here. I'm going to film and talk over me farming out all these rocks because there's really nothing else to do. We're not going to be shooting any dinosaurs or anything. That T-Rex that I killed 2 episodes ago, that was pretty much the extent of all the dinosaurs I've seen throughout this entire playthrough. My name is Splattercat. Thank you for joining me in the Nerd Castle for another episode of Beasts of Prey. I'm hoping the early access is really not representative of the gameplay right now. Unfortunately, I'm starting to lean towards the fact that it very likely is. It'll still be a fun game, and I think this will be a worthy successor to a game like Rust if they can keep the development going. They have been patching in the developer's defense, and so I know I've been saying a lot of really negative things during, or at least not negative, but I've been sort of passive-aggressive this whole time. What I will say is the developers are patching like every 3 or 4 days, which is a really, really good sign. It means that they haven't taken the Steam money and ran away with it, which is always my large fear whenever I support an early access project, because it happens. Like every single time I shell out the money for an early access game, well, it ends up not being developed entirely. And even on up to large-scale games like Rust, for example, is no longer being developed. They just abandoned it, and so that's that. I mean, even big development firms are no longer immune to it. I used to be able to think that maybe... I don't know. I used to think that maybe if I paid for a game by a bigger developer, they wouldn't abandon it too, but no, they abandon it just as quickly as everybody else does, so... What are you going to do? What are you going to do? I'm going to go after this last rock over here. My name is Splattercat. Thank you for joining me in the Nerd Castle for another episode of Beasts of Prey. I apologize for the break in episodes. I was trying to upload every day, but it seems like they were turning the server off and on all weekend, and I was out of town, and so essentially I couldn't adapt my schedule to get the material out. I will see you all later in the future. Take care out there, everybody. Hi-do.